Hi, I'm DJ Anthony. That's Magnus in California. I'm in New Jersey. How are you? Okay, Magnus. I don't know about you, but I like watching stories about American Special Forces, military, Navy SEALs, Green Beret, Delta, all that stuff. I've never served. You have. You have military experience, and it's funny because I was saying to myself, why am I so fascinated with these Special Forces guys? And initially I was like, yeah, man, I like blowing shit. I like to watch shit blow up, and yeah, kick ass. But then I said to myself, no, that's not why I like watching them. And that's not why I think most people don't realize really the reason why they like to learn and read and watch about special forces is not because they're military. It's because they're excellent at what they do. And it doesn't matter what you're doing. I don't care if you're a doctor, a lawyer, a chef, a plumber, a waiter, a Navy SEAL, whatever. When you are the best at what you do, I think that attracts attention, that attracts admiration. And I think that's why people love learning and watching these movies about special forces because they're just so good at what they do. And what do you think? I mean, you were in the military.
I mean, look at it. Why are people so obsessed with successful people in the States? Everybody glorifies athletes, professional athletes, like they're basically semi-gods to some people. Like you said, I think that's like the golden goose. It's the same thing. If you have someone that is extremely good at business or extremely good doctor, things like that, of course you you want to know what kind of like who they are like a person. Why do they become successful? Do they have a specific trait? Do they have something that you can practice and become as well too? And but also, like, remember, both you and I grew up with the first Top Gun when it got released, and that was basically talking about glorifying fighter pilots. I mean, and they should. I mean, they're very like talking about the percentage of the percentage, right? So, and I think that is also like we we look up to people like they're the modern day cowboys, adventures, or whatever you want to feel like it. But it's also like extremely serious work that they do. I mean, it's constantly fight to the death. I mean, it's the same thing when you're looking at race car drivers or whatever it is. I think that is kind of people that redlines it, like they're on the edge of redlining a lot.
Yeah, it's why we look up to and admire astronauts.
Yeah.
Astronauts are really the same type of Navy SEAL, but of space. Or
Hmm.
again, like my point is like I think what we can learn from special forces soldiers is be the best we can be. Be the Navy SEAL, the Delta of what we do for a living or what we do in our lives. Be the best husband, wife, brother, sister, friend, teacher, doctor, lawyer, plumber. Be your version of the Navy SEAL for your life. And I think that's what we can take away from these men and see like yeah, it doesn't have to be, oh well, if you don't blow shit up and shoot a gun, you're a loser. No, it's just a different job. That's all.
Yeah, no, I mean it's the same thing. And I think it's important to kind of point out that they go through rigorous training and it's a lot of repetition, and it's also that they're not alone. They're working as a team. And I think that is also important. It's like, what can you, like, there's a lot of things that you can mimic as like general population and things like that. And that is like learning to know one another, being a good teammate, support each other, back up each other, and
Right.
all these things. And I think that they spend so much time together. They're basically family, or they are
Yeah.
family.
Right.
And I think that I'm not saying that you have to become family with your coworkers, but like getting to know them and like having a little bit more of a like an understanding who you're dealing with, that is going to make your both your life way, like, I would say, maybe not easier but more understandable, and like you understand that a person a little bit more and where they're coming from, maybe what their drivers are, like why, what's important for them, and so on, and family and all these things. And I think that, like, when you know things like that, you do stand out a little bit more in the crowd. Then of course a lot of people don't want to get too close to the coworkers because of many reasons, and I completely understand where they're coming from.
Right. But you need a team, and not every job is needs an exact team directly. Maybe you need an indirect team, but we all need team working together, either directly or indirectly. Yeah. And I think the other thing too is these Navy SEALs and Delta, whatever, it's not, and when you watch these interviews, they'll tell you, and you know this, it's not the strongest guy that gets the job done. It's not the guy that can bench 500 pounds that becomes the special forces. It's the guy, or the person in the job that you said, like they put the most time in practice. Practice. Tom Brady, NFL football player, the greatest quarterback that's ever lived. He is not the strongest. He is not the fastest. He is not the smartest. He was, as you know, and everyone knows, he was drafted very late. Nobody wanted him. He was a backup scrub, but he put hour after hour after hour after hour. And that's what is, I think, so fascinating about anybody who is elite. It's not natural ability. Natural ability means nothing. It's all about that mindset, that discipline, that discipline, that discipline. And that's what gets you to the elite status, that you're not the strongest. You're not the fastest. You're not the best swimmer. The Navy SEALs will tell you this, but it's that mindset, that routine, right?
Yeah, you have to be extremely mentally tough to get through all these things. And I mean, that
Right.
goes for being like a pro athlete, or being a successful pro athlete, I should say, also.
Right.
But I also want to point out, and I think it's the same thing with a lot of these people in pro athletes. They have a lot of similarities. They I think they're also afraid of what happens next, because again, they're not going to be able to sustain that career that long. I mean, like, at least when we're talking about active duty, and many of them get shipped out in, like, they're like mentally or physically not able to do things anymore. It's a lot about, like, I would say there's a lot of like physically, because they're tough as nails. It's usually that, like, their bodies are giving up because
Right.
they're pushing themselves so hard. And
Right. And
another
again,
thing that I want to talk about the teams, though, is that everybody has a specific thing that they're really good at within that
right.
team. And also that they're really good at collaborating. Basically, they're almost, they know each other so well, so they don't even have to speak to one another. It's like almost like telepathic communication
And that's
between
that
them.
practice factor. The
Yep.
practice factor. Because yes, being mentally tough is a prerequisite, but that alone won't get you through it. You have to be able to practice 10,000 hours to
Mm-hmm.
be the elite whatever, elite chef, elite doctor, elite Navy SEAL, or whatever, and right, master something. And so, yeah, I agree. I mean, it's a fascinating thing, and it gives us all hope that, we can come close or be very excellent at what we do. And no one's saying you have to be number one. It's nice, but if you can be amongst the elite, hey, that's a win. You think Bill Gates is the smartest guy? No. But he's a hard worker, has, somewhat intelligence. He's one of the richest people on earth. I'm not saying he's some great character, but my point is, it's not always the person with the best raw anything that gets to the top. It's that, right, the bravery, the discipline, the tenacity, all that shit.
And I mean, it's the same thing. A lot of these people we never hear about anyway. Like that's the thing. If you're in science, for instance, yeah, you might win some awards, things like that. But most, like, everyday people do have no clue, like, what different scientists, what they're doing, or like, we're talking about, like, super surgeons or whatever, like, because a lot of people fly under the radar. And it's not like, if you're always looking at these like military and things like that, it's always going to be a good story. Like, you can always make it a good story, because it is that kind of, like, on edge of everything, like, it's one misstep and everybody's dead, or whatnot. And unfortunately, like, a lot of people lose their life or limbs in the military as well too. But then we have other people, like, we never know about them, because there's no exposure to them, and they're not, like, out there, and it's not like, it's probably great stories, but it's not like we see it in an action movie or anything like that.
No, 100%. Yeah, no, well said. Yeah, that's it. That's all I got, Magnus. If you got anything else before we wrap up.
No, man. I mean, it's like, again, interesting, and like you said, bring that, like, that attitude into life, and you're gonna be successful for whatever you're trying to become good at, or that you have, like, an ability to become good at.
Yep, well said, Magnus. All right, folks, we're wrapping it up.
Thanks,
Thank you. Check
Anthony.
back in. Thanks, everybody. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bye.